Hey, welcome back. It's Noel Mathias, and today we're discussing Bloomberg's report that Canadians haven't felt this good about the real estate market in 3 years. And we're going to talk about what that means going into 2021. But before we get into it, do me that favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and please hit that like button so more people like you can see this video. And leave me your questions and comments. What do you think is going to happen in the real estate market in 2021? Okay, so let's get into it. Let's talk about the details of the Bloomberg report. And what this report is based on is the Bloomberg Nanos Canadian Confidence Index. And how this Canadian Confidence Index works is they poll 250 Canadians on a weekly basis. That's 1,000 per month. And then they run a 4-week running average of the 1,000 responses. And they ask questions about things like personal finance, what people think is going to happen in the economy, and what's going to happen in the real estate market. And what's interesting is that this last week, the 250 people that were polled brought up the moving 4-week average to basically the highest numbers that they've seen for both Canadian consumer confidence since the beginning of the pandemic and for real estate in the last 3 years. So really interesting numbers here. And the one that we obviously want to focus on, being a real estate related channel, is we want to focus on the one where 49.2% of respondents see housing prices climbing over the next 6 months. So in other words, about half the people surveyed believe that housing prices are going to go up. Now, what is leading to this feeling of positivity in the real estate market? Well, it's two things. It is the fact that interest rates are pretty much at an all-time low, which encourages borrowing. When the Fed lowers interest rates, they expect people will buy houses and basically buy real estate, and that is going to lead the economy in a lot of ways. And two is the move towards bigger accommodation. So in other words, people buying bigger houses because they're realizing that they're spending more time at home with their family members, maybe need a second bedroom or a second office in order to make working at home livable, maybe need a little bit more space from the family. But really what's happening is you're seeing this movement towards larger houses. And along with lower interest rates, the larger houses are becoming more affordable, and therefore you're seeing this increase in housing prices and continued belief that housing prices are going to go up and up and up. And what that means is if you're a buyer or a seller in the real estate market, you can expect that for the first 6 months of the year at least, you're probably going to pay top dollar if you're a buyer and get top dollar if you're a seller for the house that you are transacting on. So definitely good news for sellers, and definitely something that buyers should be thinking about. Getting into the market sooner rather than later if you don't already own a home is definitely something that you would probably want to do now. And keep in mind that if you think you're buying at the top, 25 years from now, this whole pandemic thing and the rises in housing prices over the last few months are just going to be a blip on the radar. What matters is not that you buy at the top or the bottom, but what matters is that you're in the market and that you're purchasing a property that you can afford. So buyers, keep that in mind, and keep in mind that you're probably going to see housing prices go up if this is any indication of the way people are feeling. And in markets, generally, sentiment is what drives markets. And if people believe that housing prices are going to go up, that's going to drive their activities. It's going to drive what they do. And ultimately, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And therefore, you can probably expect that in the first 6 months of 2021, we're going to see higher prices across the country. Now, with the positivity in the real estate market, this actually helped lift the Bloomberg Nanos Canadian Confidence Index to its highest level since pre-pandemic. And Nick Nanos, the chief data scientist at Nanos Research, obviously it's named after him, has basically said that forward perceptions on both the strength of the economy and the value of residential real estate gained a full 5 percentage points in the last 4 weeks of tracking. So in other words, whatever's happened in the last month, people believe that the economy is getting better, even though we're going into lockdowns across the country. So interesting, right? People are less fearful right now than they were back in March going into a lockdown. There seems to be some comfort about the fact that, yeah, we aren't going to be able to go out and have dinner with our friends and do all the things that we did before, but that's not necessarily going to hurt us personally as much as we thought back in March when lockdowns was a brand new thing to us. Now, on the negative side of this is how many people believe that housing prices are going to go down, because you've got 49% that are saying we think they're going to go up. Well, what do the other 51% think? Well, about 35% of them believe that the market is going to be about the same as it was over the last 12 months. And then about 5% really said that they really don't know. And then 12.7% of respondents are saying that they believe home prices in their neighborhood will decrease in the next 6 months. So there are some people that do believe that the housing prices will decrease. We don't know what sort of circumstances these people live in, if they are in downtown condo markets that do have declining prices, or if they're just have a general negative sentiment about the economy. But there is a small percentage of Canadians who do believe that housing prices will go down. There's always going to be people on both sides of the conversation. But what's interesting is that that conversation is heavily swayed in favor of the Canadian real estate market right now, as opposed to people believing that it is going to go down and have negative consequences. Now, 23.7% of consumers expect that the country's economy is going to be stronger in the next 6 months. That's the largest share since June and up from 18.1% at the end of November. And 14.9% of Canadians are saying that they're better off than they were a year earlier. So 15% of Canadians, after everything that's happened this year, believe that they are better off than they were in 2019 at this time. Now, what's interesting as well is that about 25.7% are saying that they are worse off. So one out of every 4 Canadians is saying that they're worse off now than they were a year ago. But what that leaves is a pretty big group of people, basically about 60%, who are saying that they are pretty much in the same position that they were a year ago, and that the impact that the pandemic has had and the changes in the economy has had on them is very insignificant. So I find that to be a pretty interesting number. 60% of people are relatively unaffected, and 75%, when you add the 15% who say they are better off, are in a better position. So 75% of Canadians are either better off or in the same position as they were a year ago, which is pretty telling that the monetary policy and the things that the government has done to continue to spur on the economy have been the right steps, and that it has pretty much left a lot of Canadians insulated from the very bad things that have happened throughout 2020. Now, obviously, there's going to be a pretty significant amount of people, 25%, that are in a worse off place. My guess is those people work in industries that were heavily affected by the pandemic, and that is definitely a sad thing. But normally 15 to 20% of people will find themselves worse off than they were in the previous year anyways, regardless of what's happening in the economy. So, I think the impact of COVID over the last year has been relatively mild compared to what it could have been. And that is a testament to both the Bank of Canada and the government. Love them or hate them, doesn't matter which political party you're a part of, because the reality is that the stimulus and the things that were needed were necessary, and regardless of who delivered it, they did what I believe anyways was a fairly good job of taking care of Canadians for the last 12 months. Now, one other interesting note here is sentiment has risen in every single province except for Quebec. So even the prairie provinces, who have suffered from low oil prices and basically an assault on the resource economy, are feeling better about the economy going into 2021. Hopefully that momentum turns into, again, a self-fulfilling prophecy of things getting better throughout the country, and we end up having a significantly better 2021 from a financial perspective than we did in 2020. So what do you think is going to happen in the economy in 2021? Do me a favor and leave a comment about what you think is going to happen in the economy in 2021 in the comment section below. I will answer them and acknowledge each and every one of them. And do me again that favor and hit that subscribe button and the notification bell and the like button so more people like you can see this video. And we'll see you in the very next one. Cheers.